America, you always have something in the works. So what's next for you?
A Thousand Blows, 1880'lerin Londra'sında, East End'in arka sokaklarında illegal boks dünyasını merkeze alıyor gibi görünse de aslında çok daha geniş bir hikayeyi anlatıyor. Göç, sınıf, ırk ve hayatta kalma içgüdüsü bu dünyada sürekli çarpışıyor.
So are you still planning to go back to Jamaica?
I have something that keeps me here a little longer.
What kind of something?
Dizinin yaratıcısı Stephen Knight ile ikinci sezonda hikayenin neden daha karanlık bir yere evrildiğini, For the Elephants'ın anlatıdaki rolünü ve bu dünyayı neden uzun soluklu bir hikaye olarak gördüğünü konuştuğumuz özel bir röportaj.
Merhaba.
Merhaba. How nice to hear you speak some Turkish.
My wife's Turkish.
Seriously?
Yeah.
How come I didn't know that? Oh, lovely. Okay, my last question will mean more then. Hi, Stephen. Thank you very much for taking time meeting me. My name is Canan. I'm from Istanbul. I'm from Hafta newspaper, Turkey.
Yeah.
And it's such a privilege to meet you. And
Thank you.
I'm a huge fan of your work. And congratulations on the season 2 of the Thousand Blows. I've seen only the first 3 episodes of the second season. I just don't like binging it. I just want to enjoy it. I know how long it takes time to make it, so let's just enjoy. And as much as I've watched, it's amazing as always. So well, thank you very much for taking us back to 19th century once again. And I just want to ask, what drove you back to this era as a storyteller, and what part of that social landscape were you most eager to examine on the second season?
Yeah, I mean, the reason for journeying to this time period this time was I was offered the story of Hezekiah Moscow, which is a true story and is irresistible because it's, a young man comes to London to become a lion tamer and ends up becoming the heavyweight champion of the world. And I'd had a long-standing desire to tell the story of the 40 elephants. And since Hezekiah and the 40 elephants were together in London at the same time, I thought I would put those 2 stories together. But the reason I'm attracted to this period, I think it's sort of the beginning of a modern world, and it's the end of an old world. And I think London then was the capital of the world. There's a lot of energy, a lot of power, and a lot of poverty going on at the same time. So there's a lot of contrasts to explore in that period.
So, you answered my first question, and the second one was about the characters of it, Mary Carr and the 40 elephants. I was saying, they were glamorous and genuinely dangerous at the same time. But you're carefully not glorifying the crime, but in a way they are inspiring. And even today, we just had Lure Heist, and I'm sure they could have pulled something off today. I was wondering, how do you navigate this tone? Just it's fun and empowering, the heist, without losing the sight that it's again brutal and risky.
Yeah, I think it's always the case when one is writing about crime and criminals that you can look at it from the point of view of, well, this is wrong, this is bad. I always like to imagine that anyone that I'm writing about who is a protagonist, a hero, is that it's a good person doing a bad thing for a good reason. They've got a reason for doing it, and they're fundamentally good, but they feel it's not necessarily the case, but they believe they're having to do this bad thing for a good outcome. And I think it helps if the victim is Harrods or Selfridges or a big wealthy. I think people go, yeah, all right, fair enough. But yeah, and a lot of their in reality, a lot of their crimes were swindles and cons. And you do feel, it's not always the case, but you do feel it's someone in a very poor situation making a living as best they can.
I see. In the first season, we had immigrant survival, community loyalty, as they drove the first season. What themes dominate the second season?
I think it's to do with the characters and the triangle of Hezekiah, Mary, and Sugar, where those relationships generate most of the stuff in the series. And even though Mary wants to become head of the elephants again, and even though Hezekiah wants to get revenge, in reality, looking from above, what they want is each other. And I think that's the thing that drives it. And Sugar, I believe Sugar is in love with Mary and always will be. And that she isn't. Do you know what I mean? Which is a difficult situation.
It is. And well, several of these characters are historical figures, we know. But how do you navigate the balance between the authenticity and the dramatic, invention part?
Yeah, I mean, these are real. They were real people, and their very existence is extraordinary and worthy of drama because of who they were. And we do have very sketchy accounts of things they did, but that's all we've got. It's things they did, not who they were. And so I think my task is to create characters that would do the things that we know they did, and do it in a way that gives us insight into who they were and make them empathetic. So for me, the accuracy needs to be in the character rather than what they do on the journey between this actual event and this actual event.
And how about the show's perspective on violence and identity in the season? Does it deepen?
It does. I think that because we're talking about boxing, where violence and identity are absolutely inextricably linked. In other words, if I win this fight, I am the champion. Now, that sort of sensibility is almost translated through the series to lots of different things. And I think hopefully what the ultimate message is that becoming the champion isn't the thing. And the thing that can be achieved by violence isn't necessarily the thing that you most need or want.
How much of your family heritage found its way into this emotional and philosophical core of this story?
My dad was a boxer when he was younger, and I was brought up 3 o'clock in the morning listening to fights from Madison Square Gardens if a British boxer was fighting an American boxer. So it was part of growing up. So I do sort of understand the boxing sensibility in a way, and that is at the core of this. But in terms of specifics, not in the same way as Peaky, where it was based on stories I was told, but it's coming from that background, and maybe that does help.
I see. And you have collaborated such an incredible performance. The cast is amazing, and they are particularly expressive physically in this show. And how do you direct actors in a world where fighting is its own language?
Yeah, I mean, the directors that we've had have been amazing. I didn't direct, but the people who directed, and the people who organised and choreographed the fights as well are amazing, because they've found a way. It's very easy to do boxing and to do fights badly, but they do it brilliantly. So I think at its core, that physical conflict is executed so well.
And London, I just arrived. So
you're in London? Okay.
Yeah, I arrived for another business meeting. Yeah, I'm happy that I saw the sun and a little rainbow. So it's a surprise. And London is a character in this series as well.
Yeah.
And what specific parts of the city's history or geography did you try to bring forefront this time?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the River Thames, which literally runs through this series, and a lot of the neighbourhoods on the river were very tough neighbourhoods and docks and things. So, and bits of Wapping still exist that look a bit. But I like the idea of the river as, especially in season 1, where if you make a mistake, or if someone gets killed, or if you want to get rid of something, you throw it in the river and it takes it away. And it's like the flow of time; it just gets rid of it. And so, yeah, it's that element. It's the riverside, the East End that I'm really interested in.
You have created iconic worlds before in different shows. What makes A Thousand Blows a story you want to keep returning to?
I think in reality, amazingly, the 40 elephants were still around in the 1950s. So there's a hell of a lot of stories to tell, and a hell of a lot of characters, you know, who took over from Mary and who kept the thing going. So, you know, it's not up to me whether or not we tell more of this story, but, you know, I would love to tell more of the story, and I'm hoping that that's what we'll be doing.
And how do you balance being a writer and a producer? Does it stop you at certain creative writing? Because you know it's going to be costly, you know it's going to be problematic.
Oh right, yeah. No, I'm used to writing with the budget in mind, because having worked with the BBC, for example, you have to be creative in how you interpret stuff and get things done. But the two things are very different, and writing is a very solo task. You can only do it on your own. Producing is collaborative. So yeah, the two things are quite different.
And when you look at season 2 as a whole, what do you feel it says about Britain of the past and the Britain of today, and the uncomfortable, you know, familiarities?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the struggle of people who don't have enough money and is timeless, and so a lot of things are very resonant, I think. And to have, you know, there's parts of this city that are still here that were there then, and the river still flows, and there's a lot of things that are still happening. So I think, because human beings, I don't think, change over the centuries. They're still the same, got the same emotions and the love and the hate, that the thing that's endured most is the way human beings are. And I hope that an audience looking at this will recognize human things in themselves, in the characters that they're watching.
And well, my last question coming to, I was wondering, would you be interested in delving into another story, the same period, but another empire which is on the fall, maybe a little later time, and a new country on the rise, talking about Ottomans to Turkey.
Oh yeah.
And Istanbul, you know, it's a character. It has many stories. And would you be interested in such a thing?
would.
Because, yeah, as you said, you know, your wife is Turkish.
Yeah. I know quite a bit about Turkish history that maybe a lot of people don't, because of my wife, and it is absolutely fascinating. And there are so many stories. I'd love to do that. And I think Istanbul is one of the most fantastic photogenic cities. I go there quite a bit. People are great. Food is amazing. But just the stories of what happened in history in Istanbul and across the country is quite amazing. So yeah, I'd love to do something in Turkey.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks
and
a lot.
congratulations, Mom, again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.